Music? Okay.
Usually, like if I get here on time, what happens? Got it.
And good afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome to We Believe Digital Studios, downtown Jackson, Mississippi, the belly of the beast here in Jackson. This is our news break show, and my name is Chris Young, and just going to share some stuff for about 30 minutes. Take a little break about halfway through. Happy to be having the show produced today by young, dynamic producer Jonathan. And we got some moderate temperatures down here in Jackson. Maybe a little rain coming a little later. So much stuff to be going on down here. It's hard to really know where to begin. But I guess I'll like to start with we have a sentencing up in Buffalo. This guy, this 19-year-old, I think then 18-year-old white supremacist, looked like a little boy in the pictures. This Buffalo, this is the guy that drove 3 hours to kill as many black people as he could at the Tops grocery store in Buffalo. Had done significant research and so forth, and very emotional hearing today. One guy came out of the what do you call it, the gallery or whatever part of the courtroom, and try to get a hold of this guy Peyton Gendron, who was about to be sentenced, and the court had to shut down for about 10 minutes while they got hold of that guy and got him settled down or out of there, or whatever the case was. Very emotional. The relatives of victims giving statements and so forth. He killed 10 people, and he killed 10 people in this Buffalo supermarket for one reason only, because they were black. And so today he got a life sentence. And the judge, Susan Egan, she said, there can be no mercy for you, no understanding, no second chances. So life in prison. And these ended up being federal charges that came down. They say committed the offense after substantial planning and premeditation to commit an act of terrorism, is the way that reads. It was last May 14th when he went into the open fire outside and then inside of a Tops grocery store in Buffalo, intentionally targeting victims, quote, because of the perceived race and or color of such persons. That's what the grand jury alleged in a 25-count indictment against him. So, life in prison. For this guy, still living and living off everybody's tax dollars, and after taking the life of 10 absolutely innocent people just because of the color of their skin, it just my brain doesn't exactly know how to process. It's just it's very difficult to try to understand people that think this way. Just really sick, So anyway, we're going to move on, Jonathan, or did you want to show something?
Yeah, I can show
Okay. Yeah, so we're just gonna see if we can get you a picture from today. There it is. You see the little very now, but he really looks like a young like a baby face. And they say he did a lot of crying. They say he did a lot of crying. It's very emotional. Say he was very emotional, crying, and he apologized for what he did. So anyway. Okay. Okay. Well, so that's that. The next thing I wanted to share with you on the national news level, that we got the elections, in 2024, and Senate and Congress and the presidential elections, and so people are lining up. And today, Nikki Haley threw her hat in the ring to become the next president of the United States. Now, she's a Republican, worked for Trump, and he appointed her as the ambassador, U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and I want to say she's maybe it was more than that, and then she moved on to other things. But she made a big announcement today that she's running for president, white, female, Christian, Republican, and in the presidential bid. And in her announcement today, she shared something that has just got to be newsworthy. She shared two things, that she wants to have mandatory competency tests for anybody serving in elected office up there in Washington, in the Senate or the House, or a president or vice president, anybody older than 75 years old, 75 or older. She wants them to have competency tests performed. So that so that's definitely calling out the current president for sure, and also this Miss Haley, Nikki Haley, she said this, and I know news to you. She said, if you're tired of losing, put your trust in a new generation. So she sees herself as a new generation. She leaned heavily on her experience at the UN, her background as the child of Indian immigrants, and spoke in hopeful terms about the country, saying this: "Take it from me, America is not a racist country." Yeah. So I'm trying to get my brain wrapped around that one, because I think it's very possible that Nikki Haley, who once represented our entire country as an ambassador at the United Nations, I wonder how many of her colleagues, her former colleagues at the United Nations, would agree with that. I can't imagine that they would. I might remind the candidate Haley that in what we now call America, the land of the free, and the home of the brave, we have systemic racism, and it's resilient. It's been alive and flourishing here for over 400 years. We had 200, candidate Haley just shared with you that we had 245 years of slavery, taking people's identity, taking their country, their rights, their esteem, their dignity, stripping away everything, even taking away the breath of life. Then we had a Reconstruction period, but it only lasted for 12 years. And then straight into Jim Crow for another 88 years, racially mandated segregation, black codes, relentless, another 88 years of taking. You have the overlap of that taking with ongoing white terrorism, the Klan, redlining, mass incarceration. No one incarcerates more than the United States of America, and inside the United States of America, nobody incarcerates more than the state of Mississippi. And they do so with a ratio of 3 blacks to every one of a white person that's incarcerated. Imagine that. No racism here, though. Felony disenfranchisement, convict leasing, debt peonage, hate groups, New Deal collusion, stop and frisk. And these terrorists, going into shopping malls and college campuses and shooting people. So I just don't understand how, Miss Haley, Nikki Haley, candidate now for president of the United States, how she can say, that America is not a racist country. All kinds of racism going on in this country all the time. And there's just so many examples of it on so many levels. So God bless her. I know she got to do her thing. It's all about the power and control, and she's got to do her thing. But so just sharing that with you, and we'll see how that turns out for Miss Haley. So we're getting ready to step aside to go to a commercial here, and we're getting ready to step aside. We'll go to commercial. And then, and then we'll be right back with you.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program because our academy is online. You have the choice to learn group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
And welcome back to Newsbreak on We Believe Digital. We're just trying to work through some of these issues today. Wouldn't it be great to have some good news, But so much is going on here, just sweltering oppression going on here in Mississippi. So I just want to run through, spend this next segment running through these 4 bills that are currently in the legislature. Our legislature is a part-time system here, typically goes into session on the first working days in January, and then try to wrap up by the end of March, sometime go a little bit over. Now they will have special, they will call special sessions of the legislators, but like this past year, they did that. They did not do that when we had the water crisis in Jackson, and and tens of thousands of people were without clean, reliable water. They didn't call a special session then, but the but the Republican leaders, they called a special session, to give $247 million in tax incentives to a multi-million-dollar corporation, a white corporation up in the Golden Triangle. So it's a part-time legislature, but when it serves their purposes, now they will have a special session. So the first bill of dire concern was introduced. This is HB 1094, introduced on January 16th, and this is a bill that if the Department of Environmental Quality finds that the city of Jackson has wastewater or sewage has been improperly disposed of, then that city shall be fined by the department for each instance of improper disposal, and the fine will be $1 million per incident. Now, a lot of people pushed back on that, and so then they amended it. So now they're saying any municipality or county that does that. So the initial draft, writing, submission, whatever the right word is, of the bill was specifically targeting Jackson. Now that's a theme that you're going to hear for the rest of the show today, targeting Jackson. And of course, we don't have to look too far to find out, why people do that. So apparently, with our broken water and sewer system here, there's a lot of broken pipes. There's all kinds of opportunity for raw sewage to go in places that it's not designed to go, or be treated before being released or whatever. And apparently sometimes it's making its way into the watershed and into the Pearl River, so then these folks that drafted the bill, they're down south of us, and they're saying that this is affecting their quality of life down there. So no, I don't think anybody's trying to do that intentionally, but anyway, they wanted to target the city $1 million for any time you do that. So we'll see how that goes. The bill was passed as amended in the House, and it has been transmitted to the Senate as of the day before yesterday. So that's House Bill 1094. The next bill is, also targets Jackson. This is House Bill 1168. This is by a guy named John Lamar, Representative John Lamar. He does not live anywhere near Jackson. He lives about 150 miles away. And, the municipality that Jackson has a 1% sales tax, in which they're able to derive lots and lots of money primarily for infrastructure. And infrastructure could be, anything from the water, the sewer, the roads, there's bridges that have to get repaired and rebuilt or replaced, all kinds of things connected to infrastructure. And so, and there's a board, there's a committee that discusses that and how they're going to use those funds every year that come in from the sales tax. Well, this law would usurp the decision making of that board and make it state law that 100% of the tax levied by Jackson must be spent on the water system, the water sewer system. So must be used solely to pay the cost of repairs, upgrades, improvements to the municipality's water system. So isn't it interesting? The city of Jackson gets the 1% tax authorized, an additional revenue to talk and work things through and decide how can we best spend that money to keep our city going and to try to overcome all the negative things that are going on here. But that's not enough. So this guy from 150, 180 miles away from here, another white Christian Republican, he's decided that he's going to take away that authority of those folks to decide how to spend that Jackson money, and the state's going to dictate that 100% of the money solely to pay for the repairs of the water system. So how about that? Taking. Another bill that's in the going on right now in the regular session is a Senate bill. This by a senator named David Parker, not a Jackson resident at all. This bill was introduced around January 16th, I believe. And this bill, Senate Bill 2889, is to create a Mississippi Capital Region Utility Act. And provide the appointment or a president of a board of directors. Now, this board of directors is going to have 9 people. 5 of them will be appointed by the governor and the lieutenant governor. And 4 of them will be appointed by the mayor, but the mayor must consult with the city below us, Byram, and a city above us, Ridgeland. This is a takeover of the Jackson water system by the state of Mississippi. And not only do they seek to take over the water system, but in doing so, they I'm sorry, I meant to say they call this Central Mississippi, but there's more to Central Mississippi than just Hinds County and Jackson, Mississippi. But they're not talking anything about Rankin County next door, because those folks over there wouldn't, they've already separated from Jackson. They have their own water system, and they're not going to they're not going to appreciate that. So it's really not a Central Mississippi thing. It's just a way of targeting Jackson, taking over a municipal water system by the state government. And of course, Jackson is a 82% black city, the city with soul. Per capita, more than any black population here, more than any other area in Mississippi. Mississippi itself, the most black populated state in the country per capita. And so you see what's going on here. A full-scale assault and takeover. The mayor of Jackson, he calls it apartheid rather. Boy, that doesn't sound far from the truth. So this has been passed by the Senate and has been transmitted over to the other chamber, to the House, and the House has referred this yesterday on Valentine's Day to the Public Utilities Committee. So, don't know, what's going to come out of that or when this is going to come up for a vote. But it's very clear that this is it's very clear to a lot of people that this is not constitutional. It will not be able to stand, and the lawsuits are going to fly if this thing passes and gets signed into law by the governor. So we shall see about that. Senate Bill 2889. And then lastly, House Bill 1020. So House Bill 1020, again by that same Representative John Thomas Lamar, who likes to be called Trey, white Christian Republican, again, 150, 180 miles away from Jackson. So what he's trying to do with HB 1020 is threefold. Just for starters, this bill is 1,040. The initial bill was 1,040 pages long. just madness. So the three primary things that I'll focus on, and there are some others having to do with the Veterans Memorial Stadium and so forth, but the three primary issues are this: to create an inferior court system within the Capitol Complex Improvement District. Now, this is the Capitol Complex Improvement District, 8.7 square miles, carved out of the city of Jackson and called the Capitol Complex. And they now have their own police force, very robust. People refer to it oftentimes as heavy-handed. But, I guess part of the other side of the story there is Jackson is, for the second year in a row, per capita, the most murders of anywhere in the country. And so that's what the people on the other side would be saying, And so so they create this, expand this Capitol Complex improvement, install their own judicial district, the Capitol Complex Judicial District, to hear certain criminal civil matters. And these judges are not elected would not be elected by the people. They would be appointed by the white Christian conservative head of the Mississippi Supreme Court, and then the prosecutors and the rest of the legal folks would get appointed by the white female Christian conservative Attorney General Lynn Fitch. So create a new judicial, take away the rights of the citizens of Hinds County in doing so, expand this Capitol Complex Improvement District in one direction towards the north and northeast, where essentially 80%, so if this were to go through, if it were to become a done deal, hopefully it will not, but if it were, it would encompass 80% of the white population in Jackson. Now think that through for a minute, and I think you'll see what's going on. And I think Jonathan had a graphic up there about that, not sure. So an overlay. And in addition to that, so now you're adding more law enforcement jurisdiction for these Capitol Police people, and also, every municipality gets monies from the state every year to conduct its business, and of course the state getting huge amounts of money from the federal government. Mississippi is on the list of top 5 recipients from the federal government. Mississippi would in all likelihood be bankrupt if it wasn't for the federal government propping us up. And so, but in this bill, so the city of Jackson would have to surrender 18.758% of its normal allocations from the state, would have to forfeit those monies back to the state. The state was just going to suck that 18.758% out of what they normally give Jackson. So they're going to create a new court system. They're going to expand the Capitol Complex Improvement District and the Capitol Complex Police jurisdiction, and they're going to suck money away from Jackson to help pay for the whole thing. So just as oppressive and racist as the day is long. It's all happening in the broad light of day, And this was first brought in, I guess, on January 16th. It was passed in the House on February 7th over many objections from folks, and it was transmitted to the Senate, to the other chamber, on February 9th. So we're all anxious to see about that. The Guardian published an article about it this morning very informative, really comprehensive. If you get a chance to go to theguardian.com, you can take a look at that article. The New York Times is said to be releasing an article about this takeover, about this, takeover of all this whiteness, sort of creating a city within inside a city. The Washington Post is in town today, working on an article for this. I have almost completed a letter to 60 Minutes. I'll have that in the mail this afternoon. Going to send Bill Whitaker a letter and ask if they can showcase this takeover by white Christian Republicans in Jackson, Mississippi, in an 82% black city. Going to see if he can showcase that. So those are some of the things that we have going on right here. It's really, really hard. We keep hearing about outside groups coming in to try to help us. I keep looking for inside groups to demonstrate a bit more. There have been some demonstrations, and all kinds of black Democrats over the Capitol are pushing back as much as they can possibly push back, is the sense that I have. The problem is that the white Christian Republicans in our legislature have a supermajority. So we're so outnumbered there that you almost don't even need to show up for the vote, because whatever it is, you're going to be outnumbered. If whatever they want to push through, they're going to push through. That being said, there's the legal system. So if some of this stuff does become law, I think there's going to be tremendous legal suits following. So we'll just have to see and keep prayed up. And I hope you got something out of today's show, and hope you have the best day possible out there. Stay safe. We'll see you on Friday at noon.